Now, 55% of the world's population live in cities, and according to estimation by the United Nations, by year 2050, this figure will rise. And in spite of the large population in cities, it is with a myriad of problems, from environmental disaster, urban planning issues, challenges with pollution, traffic, and a whole lot. And knowing how cities in Africa, and using Lagos as an example of population explosion, how can we cope with the myriad of problems that affect urban areas and many cities? That's our focus today on Environment Matters, so stay tuned. When COVID-19 first reared its ugly head all around the world, among guidelines, there were lockdown measures and people were asked to stay at home and maintain social distancing. Home, one's residence, a house, apartment, or shelter. Sadly, that word is a luxury, particularly for many urban. For those who at least have a roof over their head, the living condition is often devoid of adequate hygiene and sanitation. In recent times, urban areas have become congested as a result of explosion in population and migration. This growth has put a strain on available infrastructure. Even wetlands, which wasn't intended to be inhabited, now have people living on them, a situation that aggravates flooding.
I feel the population is more than the plan of the city. If you have good train system and other alternative means of transportation, people can live in other cities and federal government other states, so other people can see other states as places where they can see good economic progress.
A city like Lagos, you have a properly planned drainage system such that the roads will be the drainages will be properly cleared, so that when it rains, we don't have a whereby destroying people's properties and even the loss of lives. And also, areas of greenery should be encouraged, because when that happens, it helps in absorbing the heat index. It also helps to absorbing the particles, the microparticles that are in the atmosphere. So it helps the air. And also, they should find a way of ensuring renewable sources of power are used in such cities. By so doing, it will go a long way to ensuring that Lagos is a resilient city.
The coronavirus pandemic has more than ever terms of adequate and structured housing, a necessity that needs to go hand in hand with urban planning systems and reflects the health and environmental realities of today and the future.
In Nigeria, it is said that between 65 and 70% of the live in the urban area. To have a complete system, a complete process, where a resident is fulfilled and he lives well, must be a total housing setting, conducive for living, for water supply and sanitation, for play area.
Millions of people worldwide are more experience poor health due to the absence of basic services and exposure to multiple environmental hazards. This is still Environment Matters. Now, there is this general belief that people who live in cities do not really bond, because it is usually and people have their way of minding their businesses. But coronavirus shows how in many cities across the world, people worked as communities. Communal living helped many in managing COVID-19, which was why in year 2020, World Cities Day, the theme was built around how we can create communities and appreciate communities in cities. So stay tuned. The World Cities Report 2020 shows that the coronavirus pandemic has triggered what arguably is the worst public health in a century and the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. In a rapid urbanizing and globalized world, cities have become the epicenters of COVID-19. The virus has spread to virtually all parts of the world, first among connected cities and through community transmission from one city to the countryside.
Are the lifeblood of our cities and towns. During the COVID-19 outbreak, their contribution has been extraordinary. As urban areas by one of the most serious economic and social crises for generations, communities help to keep people safe and healthy in countless ways. In my webinar sessions with over 1,000 cities since we all started virtually, I have witnessed firsthand how communities have come together to form self-help networks, providing food for the most vulnerable, carrying water to the elderly, creating apps to help match donors with recipients was needed the most. Community leaders and their teams continue to play a key role, working with local governments and national government to find quarantine spaces and help set up makeshift clinics. Witness how youth and grassroots women direct assistance to the most vulnerable. We do this by learning and using local knowledge. In the process, they have found creative ways of disseminating crucial information and empowering the people they serve. We are in the midst of one of the worst socio-economic crises. I am grateful to community actors who work with the private sector to help find alternative livelihoods. In informal settlements and slums in particular, communities provide vital safety measures, and their value goes far beyond supporting emergency responses.
This development amplifies the need to harness the intrinsic sustainable urbanization for the well-being of all.
The value of communities has been brought into sharp focus during the response to COVID-19. Cities have borne the brunt of the pandemic. Urban areas are already home to 55% of the world's population, and that figure is expected to grow to 68% by 2050. Our rapidly urbanizing world must respond effectively to this pandemic and prepare for future infectious disease outbreaks. With the pandemic often overwhelming public health and support services, communities have organized to keep their neighborhoods safe and functioning, engaging with local and national government official response. We have seen neighbors shopping and cooking for the sick and elderly, residents cheering health workers, and local volunteer and faith-based groups supporting the vulnerable. Communities are innovative, resilient, and proactive. They play a vital role in building economically, social, and environmentally sustainable cities. The recognition of their value. As we rebuild from the pandemic and engage in the decade of action for the Sustainable Development Goals, we have an opportunity to reset how we live and interact. Local action is the key. When urban communities are engaged in policy and decision-making and empowered with financial resources, inclusive and durable. Let's put our communities at the heart of the cities of the future.
The United Nations research shows that cities and metropolitan areas are powerhouses of economic growth, contributing about 60% of global GDP. They also account for 60% of global carbon emissions and about 60% of resource use. This is not surprising because of the myriad of economic and social activities that occur in cities on a daily basis. Urban planning compounds the situation, including sprawl.
Together is very, very have money to rent house, they still collect agent and agreement. And that agent and agreement is almost half of it.
Like me, we are living, my landlord gave me quick notice within 6 months because he wanted to renovate the house. Right now, I don't have where to live. I've gone
Houses, new houses, but it's very close to rent. When you think about the amount you're collecting as a monthly pay, then what you pay as a house rent is almost the same thing. You can't afford it. It's too much.
There are 3D works by urban designers. Environment-friendly development plans designed to meet the evolving social, environmental and economic challenges and realities of today, including the future. Urban plans include water-sensitive urban design that captures water-sensitive cities to address challenges of inadequate water supply, flooding, and pollution. There are also eco-cities and urban designs for sustainable living in the 21st century that reduces release of harmful gases, global warming into the atmosphere. More and more environmentalists and urban town planning experts globally are advocating urban designs that can help address the impact of global warming, population rise, and pollution, especially from the impact of oil.
We need to begin to scale up our process. In order to scale up the processes, the major, what I would call the particular spectrum within our environment that has actually contributed to the impact of climate change is the built environment. And if that is where it is coming from, then there is a need for you to engage the professionals, the experts within the built environment to know what are the challenges, what are the future challenges that we should expect on climate change.
Urban planning and design environmentalists say in the creation and achievement of socially inclusive, resilient, economically stable, and energy efficient cities, especially as the World Habitat Statistics shows that today 1.6 billion people live in inadequate shelter around the world. 1 billion of live in informal settlement, while more than 100 million people worldwide are homeless. The report also shows that 1 in 4 people live in conditions that harm their health, safety, prosperity, and opportunities. Urban design is a process of structuring buildings, streets, public spaces, towns, and cities. Urban design includes modalities and framework that guide network of streets, squares, and blocks. They blend architectural, landscape, and city planning together to make urban areas functional and attractive. This art of shaping cities and towns is also about creating connections between people and places, movement and urban form, nature, and the built fabric. Urban design, environmentalists say, is a strategic way of meeting the challenges of sustainable development. Cities and towns are heavily vulnerable to impact. The consequences of urbanization and climate change are converging in dangerous ways. This is because cities are major contributors to climate change. Although cities, according to experts, cover less than 2% of the Earth's surface, they consume 78% energy and produce more than 60% of carbon dioxide. Cities also produce significant amounts of greenhouse gases, mainly through energy generation, vehicles, industries, and use of biomass. Scientists say hundreds of millions of people in urban areas the world over by rising sea levels, increased precipitation, inland floods, more frequent and stronger cyclones, extreme heat, and cold. Despite these risks, many cities have not proactively mapped out strategies to manage climate change.
Is to first campaign and make all of us aware that the things we did before have an effect, negative effect. If we continue, we will likely end up in several disasters. So the first thing to do is to stop what we were doing that wasn't good, and then begin to learn how to do things that are better for the environment. Such things as building appropriately, using the right building materials, providing the right spaces for landscaping, and rather than concrete the whole of the premises, which increases the flood, because there's flood when you concrete. So instead of increasing runoff water, you landscape, or you sometimes tiles, so that the rainwater still has the opportunity to percolate to the ground. So that reduces the incidence of flooding. And then, of course, we should shift from using fossil fuels. We should shift away from burning, because the wood that people use to cook is taken from our forest. So we've gradually deforested our nation, and the desert keeps creeping in. And we can all see it even in the temperature that we have every day. So the only way we can minimize this is to go back and depend more on nature. In Lagos State, you see that over the years, especially between 2007 and 2011, you saw what people said about Lagos State. Lagos State started greening its highways, and the balance then was green with the chop. So the state itself has led by example, and it has put in place so many parks. And outside here itself, you can see the parks, and that's why there is an agency called the Lagos State and Parks Gardens Agency. That agency is empowered to look at other sites, select sites for greening, so that they can create more parks. So in terms of that, I think the state has taken leadership. All that the citizens need to is replicate same in their homes. Plant the forecourt of their houses. They should plant the fences. They should plant behind their fences and ensure that they have more green areas.
Experts say there is need to move away from the science of climate change to practical solutions to ensure urban areas in Nigeria are structured to adapt to climate change impact.
The study that evaluated the effectiveness of various types of materials used to make masks identified that the fabric mask should ideally have 3 layers: an outer layer, an inner layer, and a middle layer, an insert, or can be another fabric layer. The inner layer, which comes in direct contact with your face, should be a hydrophilic material, meaning it will easily absorb droplets from your exhaled breath. An example of this material is a cotton. It is important to select a light color such as white to determine when it is soiled or wet. A good place to find this is in a woven or knit cotton t-shirt or material from a store. The middle layer should go into a pocket between the inner and the outer layer like this, and should act as a filter. It should ideally be composed of a hydrophobic material. This should ideally be propylene fabric, which is a spun-bound, non-woven fabric material. The outermost layer should be a hydrophobic material. This means that the fabric will repel droplets and moisture. This can be made of a synthetic material such as a polyester or a polyester and cotton blend. This can be found again in a clothing item. So look around your household for items made of these materials and wash them before using them to make a mask. Although these 3 are recommended layers to provide optimal filtration and breathability, there are other types of materials that could also be used and are mentioned in our guidance document. When you design a fabric mask is to ensure that it is both effective at containing droplets and it allows you to breathe easily. The fibers of the fabric must also be a balance between not too loose, which would allow the travel of droplets through the material, and not too tight, which can restrict the ability to breathe. Choose to sew your own mask at home. There are a couple of designs mentioned in our guidance, and you can choose one for you that is easiest to make. Since these masks are intended for reuse, we recommend washing them daily after a day's use. Also, keep in mind, if you're using a middle layer of the filter, make sure you remove it before laundering it and insert a new filter when you are using a clean mask. Otherwise, you can choose to make a 3-layer mask without a removable middle layer. So find material that can withstand the highest possible temperature when washing. Ideally, you should be washing the fabric masks in warm or hot 60 degrees Celsius with soap or laundry detergent. The materials should ideally be able to withstand boiling water. This means that a fabric coating such as a wax or elastic stretchy material would not be suitable. It is important not to use disinfectants to clean the mask, as these are harmful chemicals inhaled since you would have the mask closely touching your mouth. However, in instances where it is not possible to launder the mask in hot water or detergent, a fabric mask can be soaked with 0.1% chlorine for 1 minute and then thoroughly rinsed with room temperature water afterwards. Materials, you should find or purchase a non-porous container or sealable plastic bag to store your fabric mask when it is not in use and to contain the mask after it has been used and until it can be washed. We recommend either a disposable plastic bag that is discarded after use or a plastic container that can be wet with 90% alcohol and left for a minute to dry. Anyone using a reusable mask of any kind must be aware that there are some risks involved in the prolonged use of a mask. Whenever the mask becomes soiled or wet, you need to carefully remove it and either dispose of it or put it in washed, followed by hand hygiene. When the layers of a mask become visibly worn out or the mask remains stained or soiled after washing, throw it out. A fabric mask should not be shared between different people. And when masks are continuously used throughout the day, you should have multiple masks to change whenever the mask becomes wet. We hope that with this material guidance, we might inspire you to design fabric masks using WHO's recommended materials. So stay safe and help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Uh-oh, this is our earth. Uh-oh, this is the place where we belong. This is our home. Uh-oh, this is our time. Uh-oh, this is the place where we come from. Pick up the trash, put it where it should go. You do your part, preserve this earth. This is our world. Uh-oh, this is our earth. Uh-oh, this is the place where we belong. This is our home. Uh-oh, this is our time. Uh-oh, this is where we come from. Try to reuse, recycle what you can. And do your part and give a helping hand. This is our world. Uh-oh, our earth. Uh-oh, this is the place where we belong. This is our home. Uh-oh, this is our time. Uh-oh, this is the place where we come from.
We'll stop here today on the program, but until next another episode comes your way, I am Jennifer Igwe. Love the environment, be patriotic, and stay safe.
The talking drum is an hourglass-shaped and two-faced with a drum on each end. It is also known as waist drum. The drum is made from animal hide and has leather cords which run along its body attached to the animal hide on either ends. Talking drums vary in sizes, from the smallest called gongong to the largest known as iyailu and dundun. The talking drum is held under the arm and squeezed as the drummer hits the surface with a bent stick. The act of squeezing the cords changes the pitch and gives various notes and messages. The higher the drum is squeezed, the higher the notes produced, giving the drum a type of rhythm that can be used to communicate. The origin of the talking drum can be traced to the ancient Old Oyo Empire, from where its popularity has spread to other parts of southwest Nigeria. With the advent of the transatlantic slave trade, the talking drum was subconsciously exported to other parts of the world. Today, in parts of Brazil, Germany, France, and so on, the talking drum has become part of their musical instruments. The talking drum is called by different names across Nigeria, some of which include gongong, dundun, or iyailu among the Yorubas, kalagun among the Hausas, and igba among the Igbos. The pitch of the talking drum can be regulated based on how the player strikes the surface of the drum and squeezes the connecting strings to change its lyrics and rhythm. The talking drum mimics the way human beings talk, hence the name talking drum. The talking drum is believed to communicate with the spiritual world, as it does also with the living. The talking drum produces prayers and blessings for every new day in countless villages and palaces. It is the oldest instrument used in communicating messages in most parts of Yoruba land till date.
I am a Nigerian. I am one of 5 Africans. I am a Nobel Prize winner, a soccer champion, a giant of literature, a musical icon. My roots lie in the dusty Sahel of the north, in the rich rainforests of the east, in the savanna plains of the west, and in the oil-filled swamps of the delta. My strength flows from the waters of the Niger and the Benue. Nigeria is my home. I am the voice of 200 tribes speaking more than 200 languages. I am the laughter of the world's happiest people. I am my brother's keeper. I am a child in one of the youngest nations on earth. I am the passion. I am the soul of a continent. I am a Nigerian.
Hello and welcome to Straight Talk Africa. I'm Peter Clote filling in for Shaka Sali. Today we are discussing counter-poaching efforts in Gabon. Now Gabon is home to more than half of Africa's forest elephants, and it is at the center of the counter-poaching fight, after countries such as Cameroon and the Democratic Republic of Congo lost virtually all of their elephant populations. But the Gabonese government isn't working alone. The international community has poured in financial support, and even the U.S. military has answered the call for help. VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Barb embedded with a small U.S. military team training Gabonese park rangers to get an inside look into the fight to save Gabon's forest elephants.
Overwhelming power, overpowered by greedy men, willing to kill for their ivory.
We've been shot at. We are now in war.
What's at stake is the future of Gabon.
If we don't beat the poachers, Gabon will go the way of CAR. We will lose our country.
In this tiny Central African nation, park rangers called eco-guards man the front lines. And the U.S. military has answered their call for help.
We not only help them preserve the wildlife, but at the same time we're disrupting criminal organizations and we're helping them develop a better future.
There's a hill here, maybe, and then this is coming up. So what does that mean for the objective?
VOA is the first reporting team to embed with the U.S. military on a counter-poaching mission. We followed a small Army team to see how American training and resources are strengthening the Rangers.
In some of the parks, they already are a true paramilitary force. They're having gun battles about once a month.
This is the fight for Gabon's forest.
Oh, the leaf out there, it's like asparagus. I eat everything that gorillas eat.
What's it taste like?
This tastes like, it's like cucumber, I guess.
For biologist Lee White, the nation's Minister of Forest, Gabon is a paradise.
When you see elephants walking out onto the beach in Luanga, and then you see a humpback whale breaching in the background, then you think to yourself, is this real?
Yeah.
But that's Gabon. That's what Gabon is like.
Gabon is home to more forest elephants than anywhere else in the world. But over the past couple of decades, they've been killed by poachers by the tens of thousands.
Tragically, we've lost about 70% of the forest elephants of Central Africa in the last 15 years. But between Gabon and northern Congo, we're the only places that are really hanging on.
Gabon's vast rainforest cover almost the entire country, making it a perfect home for the African forest elephant. Unlike their cousins that thrive in the savannas of eastern and southern Africa, forest elephants of West and Central Africa are smaller, with straight tusks rather than curved ones to better maneuver in dense trees and underbrush. Female forest elephants do not start breeding until they are more than 20 years old, leading wildlife experts to estimate that it takes more than 50 years for the species to double their population. According to the World Wildlife Fund, poachers kill at least 20,000 African elephants each year for their tusks, despite a ban on international ivory trade. Forest elephants have been hit the worst. The World Wildlife Fund's biomonitoring report indicates there are now less than 10,000 forest elephants in Central Africa. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Central African Republic, and Cameroon have all lost more than 90% of their forest elephant populations since 2011. Gabon and the Republic of the Congo now hold Africa's largest forest elephant populations. Gabon's elephant population is down about a third, a blow that's been lessened due to increased resources for conservation.
I had about 100 staff. I had no cars. So managing 13 national parks in a country the size of the UK with no cars is quite a struggle. It's a hitchhike to get to the parks. And we went from a budget of about $500,000 a year to $25 million.
Since 2007, Gabon's national parks have grown from about 100 eco-guards on the payroll to more than 850.
Parce que pour faire un travail comme celui-là, ça demande beaucoup des efforts physiques, ça demande beaucoup de sacrifices et il faut beaucoup de motivation. Nous avons le devoir aussi de pouvoir préserver cet écosystème, cette nature, cette biodiversité pour les générations futures comme ceux, nos prédécesseurs, donc nos anciens parents.
Celui-là, il n'est pas bébé. Si j'entends, il y a les éléphants devant, il y a les gorilles, il y a un python ici, je n'ai aucun problème. Mais si j'entends qu'il y a les voix des humains à 15 km, où je vois des coupes de machettes fraîches très loin, là, je suis réellement en danger.
The level of violence has been rising the last 5 years or so. Until about 5 years ago, we'd never had anybody shot at. Now it's commonplace. We had some illegal gold miners who were also doing poaching, tried to kill our technical director, Hubert Koga, a couple of months ago. He went into a camp and they immediately opened fire on him.
You know, it's a war. I am talking about a band of 20 to 50 people in the forest with AK-47, 4.5 rifle, 3.75 rifle. So it's complicated in forest.
Minkebe National Park is considered the most dangerous post for eco-guards. Bordered by Congo to the east and Cameroon to the north, poachers flood the park and escape capture by darting across the river to another country. Narcisse Baba Obame is the patrol chief there.
Avant de partir en patrouille, on a toujours peur parce que, comme je vous dis au parc de Mikebe, quand vous rentrez, vous ne savez pas si vous allez sortir. Chez nous là-bas à Mikebe, vous pouvez vous croiser directement avec les braconniers. C'est pas, ça veut dire on a un indice, on dit il y a des braconniers à tel endroit et puis arriver. Vous pouvez marcher, vous êtes sur une piste et vous croisez le braconnier et directement le feu est rentré. Ça arrive. Donc, pour vous dire, franchement, je suis un être humain. Quand je rentre en mission, je suis toujours stressé. Mais comme c'est mon boulot et j'aime mon boulot, je suis obligé de bien le faire.
Today, even some of the safest parks are under attack.
The Cameroonian poachers are now at the north of Lopé, so at 40 kilometers from here, and at the north of Ivindo National Parks. They are crossed Minkebe. They are around Minzik. Minzik is at less than 100 kilometers from here. So this is why all the elephants are going to the coast, because they are afraid by these poachers.
As a new day in Lope begins, this cadence brings hope. Because these eco-guards are training to be the leaders of the counter-poaching fight. And they're not alone.
Could somebody brief your medical plan?
A group of U.S. soldiers are here to increase their chances of survival.
So generally the route we're going to take to do this patrol is leaving the Saydam, head to the main road, and then head south across this bridge.
Today, the Americans have created an exercise to find and capture a group of men posing as poachers inside the park.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Army Captain Kevin Chapla leads the team.
But if an injury does happen in real life, all the training stops. So I would just advise you guys to watch where you're stepping. We've seen like giant snakes down there. So if you get bit by something, just bring it to our attention and we'll proceed accordingly. So right now our training patrol they're about 200 meters from the objective. The suspected camp of about 4 poachers. From here, they're probably going to send out a recon element, see what they can see, come back, develop a plan, and then raid the suspected poaching camp.
U.S.-led counter-poaching training operations like this one began in Tanzania in 2009, officials say, and U.S. military efforts started in Gabon in 2018.
Our core mission really is to build the capability of our African partners through training. So anything that is criminal in nature has the capability to have linkages with violent extremist organizations and impact the ability of the government to get the critical programs and development to the people wherever they may be at.
Months of training has improved techniques to capture poachers and preserve evidence.
J'enlève les chaussures pour essayer de vérifier s'il n'y a pas de papiers cachés ou des informations qui peuvent nous mener à bien notre mission.
And first aid training is in high demand as poachers push deeper into Gabonese land.
Here at Lope National Park, it takes about 4 hours to drive to the nearest hospital. It takes even longer from some of the other parks. So for these eco guards, this medical training could be the difference between life and death.
Army Specialist Omar Soto is the team's medic.
Out of the past 15 months, I think I've been here 11. My goal was to basically teach them how to identify injuries that are basically could potentially take your life the quickest. Give them the tools to basically, or the knowledge to address the injuries accordingly.
Unlike previous counter-poaching training from other nations, Chapla says the U.S. mission with Gabon's National Park Agency, known as the ANPN, is designed to train future trainers. This small group will return to parks across Gabon, and their immediate job will be teaching their colleagues everything they've learned from the American team.
It's a proof of concept for them being able to instruct their own. And in fact, it's the first training sustainment capability that the ANPN has ever had, so it's pretty big.
Je crois qu'il y a un grand monsieur de ce monde qui a dit qu'il est mieux d'apprendre à quelqu'un à pêcher que de lui donner du poisson. Nous aurons toujours besoin de la coopération, mais nous pensons que pour ça, il est bon que nous soyons plus ou moins autonomes.
These eco guards are highly motivated individuals, and teaching them not only is it fun, but it's easy. They're very willing to learn and willing to ask questions. And as an instructor, I don't think it gets any better than that.
C'est une formation très riche parce que en rentrant ici, on avait des attitudes un peu différentes d'aujourd'hui. On est devenu un peu plus professionnel.
And they need to be professional to have a fighting chance against the organized crime networks and terror groups they're facing.
We can trace the poachers who are killing those elephants back to Boko Haram.
The group has terrorized Nigeria and parts of West Africa, raiding villages, kidnapping hundreds of schoolgirls, and killing thousands of people as its leaders seek to create an Islamic caliphate.
As I said to the U.S. Embassy a few months ago, I say, boss, we have two solutions. We work together or we work on each side. But at the end, the attentat will be in your country, not in mine. But I agree. They will come in my country to take ivory or money and to prepare this attentat. So we really have to work together.
One thing not included in this mission, weapons training, something the Rangers say they desperately want. That's because, until last year, the government didn't allow eco-guards to carry weapons. And most still have to rely on military gendarmes to patrol with them for their defense, role-played in the training by eco-guards carrying sticks.
It's got to the point where, not in all parks, but in some parks, we have to arm the eco guards as well as the gendarmes, and I have initiated that. The President supports it, and we are in the process of buying the guns.
Ça, c'est ce qu'on a retrouvé sur les braconniers, sur celui-là. Je ne sais pas si c'est le chef des braconniers ou pas, mais il a beaucoup de munitions.
Now you can say to a poacher, oh, sorry guys, stay quiet and give me your gun. 3 months ago, we were not allowed to carry weapons. Now we have weapons. And the poaching is decreasing.
Officials hope these changes, along with additional international training and support, will accelerate Gabon's counter-poaching offensive. But time is running out for the elephants, and it may not be enough.
We're losing about 2 tons of ivory a month. That's about 150 elephants a month. So I'm proud that we've made the progress that we've made, but it's still catastrophic, so we still have to do more. You may win some battles, but the war keeps going.
Joining us today to talk about the counter-poaching efforts to save the elephant in Gabon is Professor Lee White, who is Minister of Water and Forestry of the country, and Carla Barb, VOA's Pentagon correspondent. Welcome to Straight Talk Africa. Let me come to you, Carla Barb. You just had a report, a documentary on the counter-poaching effort in Gabon. Talk to me about the eco-guards you met at the forefront fighting this rather serious fight against poachers.
Well, these are very determined park rangers. So, as you said, in Gabon, they call the park rangers eco-guards. That's the American accent in me saying it. It's eco-guards if you have more of a French accent. And they really take their job seriously because they understand how big and how important the fight is for the forest elephants in their country. As you can see in the documentary, Gabon is home to more than half of the African forest elephant population. And so if Gabon can't keep it under control, then we really have a situation because Gabon has basically been holding it down, Gabon and Congo, while all of the countries around it have seen severe losses to their elephant populations. And I'm sure the minister that can talk about that much more. But when I was there, it was very interesting for me because I am the Pentagon correspondent, and so when I normally do embeds, the last embed that I had done in Africa before Gabon was in Burkina Faso, where they're fighting extremists, and I was embedded with a team that was teaching people in West Africa how to counter Islamic extremists and shoot and fight and plan that way. And so this was definitely a shift, a very different experience because it was more on navigation. But then there was also that attack plan that was also being taught. How do you prepare? If you know that there are poachers, how do you use a map to get there appropriately? What do you need to do to make sure you can stop these poachers? And they were able to take that with them as well. And the best part about it is these eco-guards weren't just learning from the Americans. They were learning how to teach it to other eco-guards, to other park rangers. So it was training the trainers, which I thought was a really neat concept because it's not just about learning 20 eco-guards learning something and then going back to wherever they are in the park. It's them taking that knowledge with them so they can then share it to 20 others and 20 others so they can all collectively have a better strategy and a plan to fight these poachers.
Knowledge transfer is certainly very important. Let me come to you, Professor Lee White. When did Gabon decide that, all right, it is time to combat these poachers? What necessitated it?
Yeah, in some ways it snuck up on us. I think that Africa went through a major poaching crisis back in the 80s, but that really focused on the savanna elephant. So it was countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda that were getting hit. And then the world reacted and CITES banned the export of ivory and so things slowed down. And then in 2006, I think it was, CITES allowed a one-off sale of ivory. And that sent a message to the poachers that things were cracking and that the commerce might reopen. And that was when poaching levels in the forests of Central Africa started going up. But the tragic thing is, in the rainforest, you don't see the wildlife for the trees if you want. You can fly over a rainforest and there might be hundreds of dead elephants, but you don't see any of them because they're underneath the forest canopy. So it's a very different scenario to the savannas where what was going on was visible. And when I was appointed head of the national parks in 2009, we weren't really aware of what was going on out in the forest. It was as we started to deploy our eco guards into places like Minkebe in 2010, 2011, we discovered a huge illegal gold mining town, basically, in Minkebe National Park with 7,000 illegal gold miners who were also doing a lot of ivory trafficking. And as we discovered these things, we realized that we had lost 25,000 elephants in Minkebe, which was our biggest elephant population, and that we were in threat of being overrun by these criminal poaching gangs. And that was when President Ali Bongo reacted, and he sent the army, the Beret Rouge, the parachute regiment, into Minkebe to close down the gold camp, and then started reinforcing the Parks Agency, giving us more means, more budget, more personnel, more equipment, and linking the park staff to the military to really attack this poaching problem and make sure that it didn't spread to the rest of our country. And as we did that, it's interesting, Carla saying that she's often looking more at terrorism than wildlife, but we discovered links from the poaching and the trafficking of ivory and gold being trafficked into Nigeria and being at least a cost center for Boko Haram terrorists and so on. And so you discover these links between organized gangs poaching ivory and trafficking gold, trafficking humans, and that makes its way up into these organized criminal groups and these terrorist groups. And so it was really when the president explained, because he understood it very quickly, but as people came to understand this link between the anti-poaching and actual peace and security and the stability of our country, was when we really went to war against the poachers and started turning things around. And unfortunately,
Professor Lee-White, I'm not cutting you short, but are you therefore saying there's a political will? You have the president's backing to combat this menace in Gabon? Absolutely.
Political will is everything when it comes to natural resource governance. There's always going to be, whether it's ivory poachers or illegal loggers or illegal gold miners trying to make a quick buck off natural resources, and the way you can maximize your profits short term is to overexploit, to kind of like hit and run, take your money and run with it. For a country, we want these resources to be a sustainable source of revenue and jobs for our people for the rest of history. And so if you don't have that strong political will to put in place the strong institutions that you need to invest a bit of your government budget into protecting natural resources at the same time as you're investing in education and health and so on, then all too often natural resources get neglected, and all too often the result is elephants disappear, forests disappear, the fisheries stocks disappear, and we realize kind of 5, 10, 15 years on, oh my God, we've lost this incredible treasure. And so President Ali Bongo Ndimba's commitment to anti-poaching and parks was really what saw us start to kind of turn the game and transform the Parks Agency into a professional agency run to international standards that is out there protecting natural resources and making sure that we have sort of law and order out in the wilds of Gabon.
Carla, let me come to you. Talking about the U.S. military cooperating or helping in the fight, against poachers in Gabon, what was the responses of the Eco Guards there and the enthusiasm that they showed? Because sometimes it could be dangerous. In one of the instances, they said some of these poachers can just open fire on them without them even realizing what is happening. Talk to me about your observation.
No, absolutely. There was a lot of encouragement from the Eco Guards as they were getting this training, because they knew that they were becoming more professional. In fact, Minkebe, which is probably the most dangerous by far in Gabon when it comes to poachers carrying weapons, there was one of the park rangers from Minkebe said, I go in, and every time I go in to do a scouting expedition, I worry that I'm going to see a park ranger. And he had had multiple gunfights, and he felt that he was better prepared. But one thing that he was very concerned about, and that we bring up in the documentary, is that at that point when I was there several months ago, they were not doing any weapons training. But as I was talking to the minister, the political will that he was talking about, the government has recognized that the Eco Guards alone, sometimes they need support with guns. They cannot depend on the military gendarmes in every situation, and so they had began arming them. And Mr. Ashley, if you want to take it from here and explain where you are from now, because I know that process had just been starting when I was there with you several months ago. Are there more armed Eco Guards at this point, or is that still an ongoing process?
It's still an ongoing process. As you know, we have a Gendarmerie des Parcs Nationaux. So we have national parks gendarmes who are from the military and are detached to the parks. And so they are better armed now. And we are going through the process of training and arming the Eco Guards. The military gendarmes have the sorts of guns that military tend to use, Kalashnikovs, whatever. The park rangers are using some version of a shotgun. And both of those weapons have kind of advantages and disadvantages in kind of the closed conditions of the forest, but they're both very effective. And so particularly for the rangers in the hot zones of Minkebe and Mwanya, we are going through that process of arming them. And of course you have to give people special training before you give them responsibility of carrying a gun, so that's all happening. And in some of our parks there's absolutely no poaching at all, and so we don't need to give our Eco Guards guns in those parks. And so we're having to balance as a function of where we are, moving the Eco Guards who are more scientific, maybe more sensitive to the parks with less threat, and the very strong characters who are more military in their demeanor into the parks where we have problems.
Minister White, what has been some of the success stories since your government launched this counter-offensive against these poachers?
Well, for us, poaching and illegal gold mining go hand in hand. So closing down the illegal Minkebe gold mine with 7,000 illegal immigrants was a huge victory, both against the illegal gold, but all of that illegal gold was funding illegal ivory at the same time. And so we moved 7,000 potential poachers out of the forests and outside of Gabon. We've continued to run operations like that. We've had great success in bringing in our intelligence community, and so now there's a very good collaboration between the parks and the intelligence community when it comes to intelligence gathering, which enables us to cut the poachers off before they kill the elephants. That's, we went from getting better and better at catching them after they'd killed the elephants, but the elephants are still dead. And then we've started becoming better at actually heading them off and stopping them before they kill the elephants, which is obviously what we really want to do, to keep the elephants alive. And so there have been multiple big arrests. One of the biggest traffickers in Gabon is currently in custody, actually in Cameroon, in this case, but we're working with the Cameroonian authorities to make sure that their prosecution goes through smoothly. And so just more and more cases of arrests and professional prosecutions. And then last year the government adopted a new penal code. We reformed the penal code that dated back to the 60s, and so was written before really the idea of organized crime or terrorism or even commercial poaching existed. And so by updating our penal code, the penalty for ivory poaching went from a maximum of 6 months to a minimum of 4 years. And any poaching involving organized crime or transnational crime automatically goes up to a minimum of a 10-year jail sentence. So that was a huge victory in terms of deterrent and being able to efficiently prosecute these criminals.
Carla, let me talk to you about the Pentagon officials that you interacted with while you were there in Gabon. What were some of their major takeaways after the training and pieces of advice and mentoring? What were some of their major takeaways that they spoke to you about?
Well, the small team really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to share their knowledge. I mean, let's talk about the entire military presence. The U.S. military presence in Africa is spread out. I mean, the bulk is in Djibouti. The Camp Lemonnier area, there's about 4,000 there, but there are 6,000 U.S. troops spread throughout Africa. And so once you get out of the Djibouti area, then you've got several hundred in Somalia, Kenya, that area fighting al-Shabaab. Then you have the group of several hundred in West Africa, in the Niger, Burkina Faso area, fighting Boko Haram and the Islamic extremists there. I think DOD just issued a few months ago saying that there were about 25 Islamist extremist groups across Africa. But so once you get past that part, then you have small teams going out and doing nation building activities and basically going to countries and saying, okay, what do you need from us? Because we're not here to tell you what you need to do. We need to know what you need. And some countries have asked for help with rule of law. How do the military and the civilian governments work together? Well, when it came to Gabon said, we really have a problem with poaching. And is there some way that we can work together where you can help us with poaching? And Gabon actually wasn't the first. It started a little over a decade ago in Tanzania, and they've also done counter-poaching activities in Uganda, Botswana, Chad, Malawi. So this is going on for many years, and it's going on with several iterations in countries all across Africa. The concern that I have as a reporter is that I was part of one of the last counter-poaching activities because of coronavirus. So I was there in Gabon. There was also another one going on in Uganda that I think wrapped up in March or April of 2020 of this year. And then there haven't been any activities because the U.S. military has not been going out and doing those small activities like they used to. In fact, the big activities this year were also canceled in several areas as well. I was going to be embedded in Morocco on this big African lion exercise, and that was canceled. And they had to tell us a couple weeks before that at first they were going to try to make it smaller, and then they decided that they would continue with some of the activities they had initially already started, but then everything else was canceled until next year. So we really don't know what's going to happen in the coming months as coronavirus has continued to surge in countries like the United States and in Europe, which is where U.S. Army Africa is based, which is where AFRICOM is based. So we have to wait and see. And I am curious, Mr. Minister, if coronavirus has increased or decreased the amount of poaching that you've seen.
Actually, I don't think we've really seen any change in poaching activity. The COVID-19 hasn't been as virulent in Central Africa as it has in other parts of the world. I think partly because of the climate, it's hot and humid, and the virus doesn't do so well in hot, humid conditions. We have a very young population, which helps, and I think there's a certain amount of natural resistance because there are so many other coronaviruses in the wildlife here. And so we've not really been hit by kind of severe health issues in the Congo Basin. Obviously, the economy is down, which for some kind of tourist economies has been a severe impact on poaching because it's tourist revenues that fund the poaching, the anti-poaching work, and a lot of people, kind of tourist workers who are now out of work without a job and are struggling to feed their families have been resorting to poaching just to keep going. And so the fact that we don't have a major tourism industry in Gabon and the rest of the Congo Basin means that we haven't fallen foul to that issue. And so we have continued to work more or less as normal, and unfortunately the poachers also. So it's sort of a status quo, really.
So, Minister White, you talked about the political will. Talk to me about the budgetary allocation for your ministry in order to, one, pay the Eco Guards very well, because just like the military, they are faced with sometimes very acute danger, and two, the equipment they need as part of this counter-poaching measures that your administration has launched.
Sure. Well, the government covers all of the salaries of the Eco Guards and some basic operational costs, and you know you wouldn't say they're rich, but they're being paid salaries of about $500 to $600 a month on average, which is a reasonable salary in the African context. In addition to the money that the government puts in, then we have a lot of partners. One of our big partners is U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That whilst we're paying for the salaries and the basic costs, they come in and help us with equipment and operations costs. And so what we try to do is we have a philosophy whereby we should be doing 50%, but that we feel that it's perfectly reasonable to ask the rest of the world to help us with the other 50%, given the incredible ecosystem services that the Congo Basin forests are providing to the planet.
So what are the prospects of the relationship between the U.S. military and the Gabonese Eco Guards, particularly after the coronavirus is dealt with?
I mean, we'd certainly like to see the U.S. military back. We find that these training sessions, in addition to the technical aspects, where they're, we're not being trained to kill people, but we're being trained not to get killed. Basically, it's more self-defense than aggression. But we are very much encountering situations where poachers will shoot on sight, where Kalashnikovs and 458s are being directed towards our teams. And so they definitely do need to know how to behave in order to minimize the risks and what to do when they are being shot at and how to respond to that. So that helps a lot. But also just the kind of the morale boost of this exchange with other with military folk, with having the U.S. government come in and show that we are together and that we are supported in this battle, and that this battle is not just important for Gabon but important for the rest of the world, is a great morale boost as well to our teams.
Carla, so what was it like for you in bed with the U.S. military, crisscrossing the forest, them, showing you some of the activities of the poachers, seeing it firsthand, and what were some of the takeaways for you?
I loved it. I wish I could have stayed longer. I mean, you can get past the mosquitoes and the possibility of stepping on a snake. You can get past that. That was a little squirmy for me. But just seeing these majestic creatures, I'll never forget the first time that I was able to see the elephants, and I was so close, and I wanted to just get as close as I could. And I remember somebody telling me, there's a baby. One of the elephants, it looked like it was a mother and a baby, and they said, there's a baby, so don't charge up there. Even though we were far distance, they said, try not to make any sudden movements, because this is the one time where the elephants are probably more squirmish because they want to protect their baby. But it was just so fascinating to me personally. I had seen elephants, of course, we have zoos in the United States, and I had seen elephants up close when I had gone to Sri Lanka, but never in their natural habitat like that, just, hanging out in the wild, doing what they do, and it was just fascinating for me. And I can tell you that the U.S. military team that I embedded with, they loved it as well. This is something that everybody who has a part of it in the U.S. military has loved and has advocated for. The problem is budget cuts and the budget situation with the military. And because U.S. Africa Command is such a small command, you've got such big problems in the Middle East. You've got to shift towards the focus with a potential fight against China in the Pacific or Russia in Europe. Africa often gets forgotten a little bit because there is such a small presence there. And the concern is that because these teams are small, 3-4 person teams when they go out, that these activities could be cut in the future when they have to prioritize. Do we need to help with counter-poaching, or do we need to help with the fight against the Islamic extremists here, in Somalia, for example, or in Niger? So that is a big concern that I know that people in Africa Command are going to be watching carefully, and I will be watching as well. I keep asking, are there any more activities going on? Because we just have to wait and see where the funding goes. And this, for me, was a very long process. I actually started talking about counter-poaching activities with officials at the Pentagon in 2016. And I had wanted to go for years, and there was a North Carolina National Guard team that was supposed to be going in 2017, and then that got canceled because of funding priorities. So even before coronavirus, even before there were these shifts going on with the Trump administration wanting to shrink the presence in Europe and in Africa, before all that, there were already these kind of hints that there could be cuts. So we really are going to have to watch and see, because this is something that has been proven to be effective. The minister can agree with me there. I'm sure that they have seen positive results because of this training, and it's a very small thing to do. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it does kind of fall as one of the last priorities that the U.S. military is looking at.
Ms. Awad, can you comment?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that if you look at not just the poaching, but you look at kind of terrorism in Africa, it's been moving south through the continent over the last few decades, and the new frontier, obviously Boko Haram are in northern Nigeria, they're in northern Cameroon, and so on. And so the next frontier is the Congo Basin forests, and investing in keeping them out will be so much more cost effective than trying to win back territory that has been lost. And as we look at the implication of terrorist groups in ivory and gold trafficking, as we look at the kind of the worrying increase in piracy issues out in the Gulf of Guinea, I think there's a lot to be said for investing ahead of the wave. And I think in Africa in particular, there's a very clear link between natural resource governance and peace and security. If you look across Africa, countries that have got a lot of elephants tend to be countries with stronger democratic processes, stronger governance. And the countries that have lost their elephants are the countries that have slipped into civil strife and civil war. And so that link between natural resource governance and stability is very, very clear across the African continent. And so investing in anti-poaching missions or investing in the fight against timber thieves or gold miners or illegal fishing is not just an investment in conservation and in natural resources. It really is an investment in the long-term sustainability of the continent and in peace and security on the African continent, and even in issues of climate change, because if you look at countries that have lost their elephants, they've also then lost their forests. And if you lose your forest, then that's a huge detriment to the fight against climate change. And so a country like Ivory Coast, named for the elephant, lost almost all of their elephants. They have about 50 left, I think, and they're down to 3% forest cover, because they lost control of those natural resources. So let's work together to invest in maintaining the forest governance and keeping those forests and the wildlife intact, rather than trying to put things right once we've lost control.
Minister White, what has been the reaction in terms of partnership with your international partners? How has been their reaction towards this anti-poaching effort that your administration is embarking upon?
I mean, we get strong support. Obviously we're talking about U.S. military, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Park Service have all helped us over the years. U.S. Fish and Wildlife is still our biggest single donor. But we've also had engagement from the EU, from the British government have committed, and many of our military training sessions with the US Marines were joint sessions with British military as well. And so there are many partners. The Russian government last year provided guns and ammunition for the fight against anti-poaching. And so there are many partners out there who do see this link between poaching, natural resources, good governance, peace and security. And I think particularly because of that, and because the President Ali Bongo Ondimba, who was formerly a Minister of Defense, is so eloquent on these issues, I think we are getting some good support from many of our partners.
Carla, all in all, what was your take on your experience in Gabon with regards to the anti-poaching effort, with regards to the anti-mining efforts to safeguard and protect the wildlife and safeguard the environment?
That's a great question. If I had to sum it up in one word, I would probably say hope. That was my biggest takeaway. There is a lot of hope in Gabon that what they're doing is going to be the thing that's needed for all of Africa, because, as we discussed, they have the majority of the African forest elephant population. And if they can make it work, then hopefully they can help others to make it work as well. I know that everyone I spoke to on the American side were also very hopeful that this would work. And they were hoping that they could keep everything up and keep the pressure on the poachers, because that, no matter if you're dealing with any sort of criminal activity, if they have pressure on them, then they cannot execute plans to attack elephants, attack people, steal money, launder money. There's the whole gambit of that. And so that is AFRICOM's top focus. It doesn't have to be a direct link to, it doesn't have to be shooting at an Islamist extremist. It could be preventing the poacher who has absolutely nothing to do, he thinks, with Islamic extremists, but the money that he's making, a piece of that goes up the chain and then does help these terror groups that are wreaking havoc on the populations, several of the populations across Africa. So that was my biggest takeaway. And it will be interesting to see in the coming years if hope can turn into more success, because as the minister has said, they're doing a great job, but it's still pretty terrifying when you look at the numbers of the elephants that are lost every month. And you think about how long it takes for these elephants to reproduce. It's not on our side. There's just a long process it takes for these elephants to reproduce and for more elephants to become available. So if you slow down at all, you're not helping the situation. And so that's something that I think we will take away from this, is that the pressure needs to remain. The hope needs to turn into action and more action as we continue to go through this fight for Gabon's forest elephants.
Professor White, a brief reaction to what Carla said.
I think that's very perceptive. I think there is hope. I think the fact that people are starting to understand, people in Gabon and elsewhere, and starting to understand these links between, exactly as she said it, that we don't have terrorists here from Mali, but some of our gold and ivory is going to Mali and ends up supporting those terrorist groups. And so I think the fact that the US government, the US military are standing shoulder to shoulder with us reassures us that people are taking this seriously. The fact that we have 50% of Africa's forest elephants in 10% of the rainforest, that's both a good and a bad message. It's a message of hope for Gabon. There's a similar message in northern Congo, but if you look at the rest of the African forest elephant range, we've lost 90% of the other forest elephants on this continent in the last 15 years. And so there is a very severe challenge, and it's a collective challenge. It's not something that the Congo Basin countries are going to be able to deal with all on their own, because it's really not a local problem. It's an international problem. It's an issue of international organized crime, and we have to fight it in that way. And I think, whilst we talk more and more about wildlife crime being up there with drugs and human trafficking and so on, I still feel that the police forces of this world don't take it quite as seriously. And so my hope is that by putting the spotlight on it, that we will push governments and police forces to take wildlife crime more and more seriously. Perhaps not just because of the wildlife issues, but even the health issues. COVID-19, which is a wildlife health issue at its base.
Yeah, before we go, Professor White, pragmatically speaking, what are some of the benchmarks you want to see, or your administration wants to see, in terms of effectively carrying out some of the measures you implemented to say, all right, we're going the right way, or we're moving at the right pace?
I'd like to see ivory prices coming down through collective international effort, and that is the case. We've gone from ivory that was up to about $150, $200 a kilo down to about $25, $30 a kilo today. I want to see fewer gun battles, fewer exchanges of gunfire between my eco guards and poachers, because we've started to remove the threat of poaching and deal with the situation. I want to see fewer incidences of illegal forestry, because all of these illegal networks are linked, and so if they're making money off illegal timber or illegal gold, they're also going to make money off illegal ivory. I want to see even more kind of inter-administration collaboration within Gabon, and even more inter-governmental collaboration across the region, because we have to fight this regionally as well as locally.
Thank you very much. On that note, our distinguished guests are Professor Lee White and VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb. Thanks to our audience for tuning in to Straight Talk Africa. I'm Peter Clotty. Join us next week.
If you travel around the world, you will find out that there is no place like Nigeria. Beautiful, peaceful, very warm and friendly climate all year round. Largest concentration of black people in the world. Hospitable, vibrant and happy people. There is no place like Nigeria. A land of opportunities. The biggest window in the world of business and investments. Extremely rich in multicultural diversity. There is no place like Nigeria.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria.
Hello and welcome to the news update on the hour. I'm Comfort Amadu. Many thanks for joining us. Now, results of by-elections held in some states of Nigeria has been concluded. The All Progressives Congress APC has won Imo North Senatorial District by-election with 36,811 votes, defeating the People's Democratic Party, which polled 31,903 votes. In Lagos, the standard-bearer of the All Progressives Congress for Lagos East Senatorial, Tokunbo Abiru, has been declared winner. He polled 89,204 votes to defeat the People's Democratic Party candidate, who scored 11,257 votes. In Zamfara State, the assembly by-election in Bakura constituency, the election was declared rather inconclusive by the returning officer, Professor Ibrahim Magawata. And results from 14 polling units were cancelled due to overvoting and the total number of registered voters. And on a foreign scene, the U.S. President Donald Trump has held first rally after losing the presidential election. The event in Georgia is coming before key Senate rerun elections in January, which will decide control of the upper house. Ahead of the rally, he criticized Georgia's Republican governor on Twitter, calling on him to help overturn Joe Biden's election victory in the state. In a speech on Saturday, the president, however, seemed to admit his loss, claiming his foreign policy measures could be reversed soon to the incoming Democratic president-elect. Under the U.S. Constitution, Mr. President will take office on 20th January. He is the first Democratic candidate to win the state in a presidential election since 1992. Meanwhile, there's still a deal to be done between the UK and EU on post-Brexit trade, a minister has told the BBC ahead of talks resuming later. But Environment Secretary George Eustace said sticking points on fishing and business rules remain. UK Chief Negotiator Lord Frostin in Brussels for the talks with the deadline for a deal approaching. Ireland's foreign minister has said it is in everybody's interest to reach an agreement. Meanwhile, one of the disagreements is over access to UK waters by the EU's fishing fleets, an issue which erupted last week with the UK accusing the EU of making extra last-minute demands. If a deal is not reached, border checks and taxes will be introduced for goods traveling between the UK and the EU at the end of the year. And away from that, latest figures from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC has confirmed 310 cases of COVID-19 in the country. A breakdown indicates that the new cases were recorded in 10 states and the Federal Capital Territory, which are the highest cases. Bayelsa and Kano states have 2 cases, which are the least number of cases. The 310 cases bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 68,937 and discharged has 1,180 deaths so far. That's the news update for now. Join us for more news on NTA News 24 at 3. I'm Comfort Amadu. Many thanks for watching.
no single feature can do full justice to the numerous attractions of this great country, Nigeria. Nigeria of many contrasts, Nigeria of many bounties. Just as the North has tremendous potentialities to make the country great, so has the South, and the same thing applies to the West and the East. All that can be done is to appreciate the tremendous human and material resources that makes Nigeria thick, as some people will want to describe it. But the most important thing is its tremendous human resource that will drive the economy to greater potentialities, and for the country to attain its exalted position of greatness in the Committee of Nations. Just last week we had a discussion on the economy and who are to drive the economy, and in what passion, what way, what fashion to drive the economy. We are talking about the driving of new economic plan, that is a new economy for the growth and development of this great country, so that we will remember our past, appreciate the present in the projection for a new Nigeria. I still have with me those distinguished Nigerians who had a discussion with me last week on the economy, that is the new economy for the new Nigeria. Dr. Tom Adaba, a prolific broadcaster and of high repute. He's a member of the Officer of the Order of the Niger. He's the pioneer principal of the Television College, Jos, and pioneer DG, Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission. He is the chairman Save Nigeria Economy Movement. And I have Dr. Emmanuel Onalufe, philosopher and scholar of political economy of the Alternative Persuasion. He is the national coordinator, Technical Save Nigeria Economy Movement, founder, Coalition of Scholars for Alternative Development Agenda for Nigeria. They're both in our studio again. You're welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome back.
Thank you. Hello.
Well, from our intro, we have almost about everything. A lot of people say Nigeria as the giant of Africa is not only the population, but the tremendous economic resources we have in the country to make the country develop. There are countries, perhaps, who had no potential as we do have in this country. And we are talking about new economy to design Nigeria, or to redesign Nigeria's development pattern for greater height. I remember I made a pointer. I recall what Professor Onoli described the way we take development as exhibition of physical artifact. We create institutions without their functions ready. We build strong, beautiful architectural designs without them being put in place. How do we come out of that quagmire? I asked you the last time you were here.
What economic development actually means. Economic development is a design of God to sustain human beings on earth when the local population outgrows the capacity of the primary resources. And it is a two-faced thing.
Yes.
There is the primary resource phase, which is called when the local population is within the range that can be sustained by the primary resources. And then there's the knowledge phase, which is when the local population grows beyond the capacity of the things that come out of the ground.
Yes.
Now, our population has grown beyond the level that can be sustained by the primary resources. All we just need to do now is to activate, to move into the knowledge phase of development so that we can now compete with the rest of the world. What it takes to, the main thing that drives the potential is knowledge. And knowledge is built in human beings. Once you understand what it means to activate that secondary growth window, then the country will now move into the knowledge phase of development, and the country will now be able to create a diversity of secondary domestic product that can compete globally
With that, the country can now compete with the rest of the world and then be able to get its fair share of the global resources on a sustainable basis. That's just what it takes. It's a very straightforward thing. Incidentally, contemporary development education does not contain any lesson on this process. That's where we have a problem. It's not as if it's rocket science. No, it's not. It's simply understanding this rule and getting your development strategy to fit into the demand of this role, and you achieve it. And it's a very straightforward thing. And it just have 6 steps of activities. But the most important thing is to recognize first that you need the alternative concept to be able to move into the next secondary resource phase. Once you access the alternative concept, then that alternative concept will now give you the framework of the basic system that enable economies to operate at a new height above the primary resource phase, and then the natural laws that guide the management of economy at the secondary resource phase, because there are different rules that guide economic development at the primary resource phase and at the secondary resource phase. At the primary phase, you need to create infrastructure, you need to create power, you need to create industries to be able to be sustained, to know a growth trend that can keep pace with population growth. But at the knowledge phase, there are other things that you need to activate to be able to meet the needs of your people. And that is what is called the productivity capacities. Now, this has 4 elements. You have to protect the economists call these things soft factors. They don't look like the real things that actually grow economy, but they are the real things. They include the experience of the society, which is documented by the information process. They include the justice system, which commits the majority to common good. They include the knowledge system, which actually creates, the 3 principal factors around which the entire economic activity revolves. It is knowledge that creates, that converts into concepts, into policy options from which governments make informed policy choices. It is knowledge that converts into concepts that define how the environment of responsibility and competitiveness is organized. And it is knowledge that converts into articles of trade around which viable domestic industries are built. So once you're able to activate the knowledge capacity of the economy, then you're able to create these 3 things at a competitive level, and then you'll be able to get your fair share of the global resources. Now, the fourth thing is the education itself. Now, there's a difference between what we have today and real education. What we have today is professional training, not education. Professional training prepares people for service to commerce. But education prepares people for service to society. And service to society means service to the productive capacity of nations and habits that sustain the environment of responsibility. Once a country has this education, then it empowers society. It is this thing that activates the appropriate development orientation, which now unites the perspective of government and the people, so that they are now able to work together to be able to get their fair share of the global resources. But without the education, then there's no way the country can work together. And if you don't work together, you cannot operate effectively at any height above the primary resource phase. So now, for us to convert our potentials into reality, there is a very simple thing we need to do. First is that we need to have access to the alternative concept, because the orthodox concept does not contain any lesson on how to activate the secondary resource phase, which is where the full potential of any country manifests.
We'll come to those issues, the nitty-gritties,
okay.
How to adapt that for the development of the economy, or for the economy to work for the development of the nation. Let me go to Dr. Tomadaba. When you look at the pattern of development, we made mention of the change of nomenclature of the Ministry of Digital Economy, Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. And now the nation has embraced the new world in digital economy. Are we talking about really injecting that into the framework of development in our educational pattern, so that we can understand to play the major role in the global system, with globalization facing us in the face?
I wish we were. Yes. As a matter of fact, how many know anything about digital economy? How many are aware of it? How many know what it actually involves? You see, it's a big name, it's a good name, digital economy. But what is the content of it? How does it in any way or the other affect the ordinary person? The second layer that Dr. Anoleifo talked about, of education. We've got to go to the ordinary, the ground level, to pick up from there and move up. Digital economy is a big name, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm not too sure it is really working as of now.
Well, the country is not yet well up to that position.
If we are still in that first phase that you talked about, we've got to expect that that's exactly what will happen. Until we move into the second phase of the four that you mentioned, including education, we're not too sure we are moving real good. And don't get me wrong, there are quite a number of our youths that are brilliant, doing very well, regarding digitization. They're doing excellently well, but that's an insignificant minority vis-a-vis the totality of Nigeria. And Nigeria needs to be carried along. Nigeria needs to know what this is all about in order to key into it. We've not been able to, I don't think we've been able to do that yet. And it's like jumping into the stage midway. What was on before then, you discountenance. But now what you want to do is just continue with it. But you continue with it, the people who are around you are seeing what you're doing, but they don't know the background of it. And they have difficulties going along with you. Yes. And I think it is necessary that we go to the basics of all this. And very especially, the Ministry of Education has a major role to play in all these we're talking about. We have been very quiet, permit me to say dormant, about education and educational system in this country. We have been working more on just the traditional approach, and sometimes we could be very lackadaisical about it, and sometimes it doesn't do us any good at all. We need to go back. We need to look at our children. We need to see what should they have at the point they leave primary 1 to primary 6. What is expected of them? What has been developed in them? Where can they go? You will be able to tell now that they're good at this, they're good at that. Then that leads you on to the 6334. I don't know if that is still working. The idea then was, after primary school, you go into the secondary school. You go in for the first 3 years, and you take some crafts, some whatever it is.
Some vocational studies.
Yes, and there you are now beginning to mold what you identify as your future. And if you want to leave after the first 3 years of secondary school, you can. And you can go and set up whatever it is. If you want to, after the next 3 years, you're more versed in whatever you identify as a craft. And it makes all the difference. We would not have been having all this flood of youngsters milling around everywhere without a job. They have no alternative at all. Their alternative is the French they read, the geography they read, the history they read, and so on and so forth. But what is the content in these ones? What can they hold on to on their own? Because if only they're exposed to this and they come out, they can now begin to build on what they already know.
Yes.
But they can't do that. You see that they go to offices to go and look for jobs. And is that in any way helping us?
Yes.
That educational element of it that you have talked about in the second rule will have to be emphasized very seriously.
Dr. Nolifo, yes, you started talking about this secondary perspective of education for youth. How do we really implement it?
Now, the first thing is that the current education is structured to produce those who work, those who go out and look for job. It is not structured to produce those who create the jobs. Those who create the jobs are those who create the knowledge.
Yes.
And knowledge converts into industry, into the secondary domestic products around which industries are built. Now, these who create the jobs, they don't come from heaven. They are part of the society. For you to access them, there are very simple things you do, because they are there in every nation and in every age. The moment a country recognizes that it is those gifted people that make all the difference, then the next thing the country does is to create a new system that will place those thinkers at the control post of economic management, in the form of economic research institution that is going to be made up of thinkers, and then the windows through which those who have those ideas can go in and then provide solutions. You understand? Now, the next stage will be to protect those thinkers from childhood, because they are not known. They don't have mark on the, for easy identification. So the first thing any country, once the local population grows beyond the level that can be sustained by the primary resources, the first thing a country that wants to move forward does is to restructure the economy. And what we mean by restructuring the economy is to create and activate the system that will recognize, that will replace the economist with the organic thinkers community in the control post of governance and economic management. Because beyond the primary resource phase, the economist cannot, merely on the strength of his conventional capacity, cannot design economic policies that can advance the economy. So at that point, it is the talents that take over. And then recognizing these talents is the first challenge. That's why each time there's a country is going to embark on transformation, there are two things that precedes it. First is that there must be the alternative concept. Number two is that the alternative concept must be put to broad national engagement. There must be a discussion across the stakeholders and the nation generally, so that those gifted people who are there will be recognized. Once you recognize them, then you now use them to create a new research institution, an organic thinkers community that will now take over the responsibility of providing policy options from which government will now be making policy choices that will work.
Yes.
Now, those people, what identifies them is the idea that they have, the big idea they have to put on the table. So if you identify 10 or 15 of these thinkers with 10 different types of ideas, if they put them on the table, now you now have the big ideas that will enable you give the economy the big push that it will need to take off after restructuring, after transformation.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
So there are no two other ways to do it. Then after that, then you will now create the system, you will build this process into education so that every child will understand the rule ab initio. So that if you discover that you have such talents, you don't need anybody to tell you where to take your ideas to. Sure. Because it is the ideas that actually converts into products. And then with that product, you can now build industries around them. You get the point I'm making?
Yes, yes.
But in our own case, because we don't have such things, if you have the idea, the system does not have any window for new ideas. So we keep doing the same thing every year, and then we keep getting the same result. Even because without those who generate the ideas, you cannot even use the ideas of other people.
Yes.
Now, if you look at some of the things we are doing over the years, you discover there are some strategic mistakes we have been making. For instance, the issue of privatization. Let me use that as an example. The idea of privatization came from somebody, one Chicago economist they call Milton Friedman. Now, when he generated this idea, it was generated for American economy. Now, it was put to discussion, and at the end of the day, a consensus was reached on how this privatization can be used, the context of its application.
Yes.
By that context of application, Nigeria is now qualified to privatize our economy. But because, the economic research institution that should break down this idea and get Nigeria understand how we can use this kind of idea to our advantage, this system does not exist.
Yes.
So we now use the privatization outside the context of its application. And if you look at very well, you see that the privatization is not working very well for us.
Yes, well, as they say, there's maturity, gestation period in any development.
For everything, yes.
So we have only 2 minutes. Maybe you share between yourself. Let me start with Dr. Tommy Adaba.
You see, I'm worried about this. Do you know, let me tell you this, I may sound very stupid. When this thing called NIPS was being formed, Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies,
yes.
I thought within me, I said, oh, Nigeria is moving on.
Yes.
I thought Nigeria was going to harness even the products of the war. People who did a mighty good job in the war by way of invention and so on and so forth. And all our people, Nigerians who have excelled in one way or the other, put them in a community and let them continue to develop their ideas and so on and so on. That's what I thought NIPS was going. I did not know that it was really, again, it's an egghead thing. And that's precisely what we're getting to.
I thought it gets people who must have gained experience in this.
Oh, no doubt.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, I had a different concept of it altogether. I was thinking that Nigeria was now going to harness the resources of all these people who have performed brilliantly, in practical things. And we still have geniuses, everywhere around, who need development. I was as I said, that's what I was thinking about, but it is not. But I think Nigeria should really, really think about this as a possibility. We have so many. We have special schools. What are they meant for? What do we do with those children when they finish with secondary schools? What do we get out of that? And I thought there's a need for a follow-up. There's a need to push them one step further, so that at least they grow into something that they can say, yes, it's their own or whatever. Yeah. But we will get there. I think with what Dr. Analiefo has explained, it sounds technical, but I think it can be broken down. And we can easily see it, and then it is then that we will actually appreciate what.
One of the things we need to we need to do in the new dispensation is creating a research institution that is for real thinkers, not necessarily experts.
Real thinkers.
That's one of the problems we're having. If you look at our research institutions, you see that experts are brought in and then placed there, and then other people are brought in to work with them. Research institutions are not built like that. Research institutions are built around new idea. If you generate new idea, and this new idea can self-sustain, it can generate wealth that will sustain the research institution. Research institutions are supposed to be generating wealth, except where they have complicated research that they want to carry out. But otherwise, research institutions are supposed to be, self-sustaining to the economy.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel Analiefo, for this wonderful contribution to our development discussion for economy for development. Thank you, Dr. Tamadaba. So we need social orientation about it. Thank you very much. There has been Moment for Thought. I am Aliyu Babaro, Economy for Development of the Great Nation Nigeria. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Service of the NTA.
Just take a step. Why don't you just take a step? Why don't you just take a step? Why don't you just take a step? Why don't you
Hello and welcome to another episode of Take a Step. My name is Moses Humphrey, the Quizmaster, and Take a Step is that quiz program designed for students in secondary schools to test your knowledge on general subjects. But we also have maths and English added to it. Now, we do have our students representing their schools. Right here, we have students from Golden Anchor High School and Timi Comprehensive College, Mushi. Now, representing Golden Anchor High School, we have Akimboro Ayomide and Ajayi Olamide. All right, they will be competing with the students from Timi Comprehensive College, Mushin, Lagos. And students from Timi, we have Annie Goodness and Igwe Chinyalo, Marianne. Together they will be playing for who will take the most steps on the show today. We'll take a quick break. When we come back from the break, our students will be out here to play the crossword puzzle, and whoever crosses the most words will be taking the very first step on the program. Take a Step makes a return in a bit.
Take a Step is a production of NTA Educational Television. NTA Educational Television, promoting learning.
All right, welcome back. This is Take a Step. And we have our students here, students from Golden Anchor and Timi Comprehensive. Now here to play the crossword puzzle.
Why don't you take a step?
You have 40 seconds to cross as many words as you can find. And don't forget, you're working as a team. So pick up the markers. Pick up the markers. Your 40 seconds starts now. You're looking for cash crops. We have beans, cashew, cassava, maize, rubber, plantain, millet, palm kernel.
Beans.
And you must cross every alphabet. If one alphabet is missing, it changes the meaning of the word. I'm sure you know that. And if one is added, it also changes the meaning of the word. 40 seconds ticking away. Tick tock, tick tock. Your time is up. Stop, stop, stop. Put down the markers. Put down the markers. Let's count from Timi Comprehensive. 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3. No. 3, 4. This is more than cassava. It goes beyond. Yeah? So 4. Put your hands together for them. Over here, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not cassava. Give me this one. So 5.
Cassava.
Cassava. There's an R. Okay. So 6. Put your hands together for them. And so, Golden Anchor, you've taken the very first step on the show. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. So we're starting off with English.
Why don't you take a step?
All right, so go ahead and pick a number.
Question 2.
Question 2. Identify the animal sound. So I give you the name of the animal and the options, and you give me the sound that they make. Dogs. A. Bark. B. Bleat. C. Hoot.
Hey, bark.
Bark. Right answer. Put your hands together for me. Now take the step. All right. Congratulations to you. Your question now?
Question 1.
Question 1. Bees. Options are A. Chip. B, buzz. C, pipe.
B, buzz.
Buzz, that's what they make. That's the sound they make. Put your hands together for her. All right, take that step out on the red. Congratulations to you. Your next question, golden.
Question 4.
Turkeys. A, gobble. B, sing. C, groan.
A, gobble.
Gobble, right answer. Go ahead, take the step. Congratulations to you. Your next question.
Question 3.
Question 3. Snakes. A, scream. B, squeak. C, hiss.
C, hiss.
They hiss. Put your hands together for her. All right, go right ahead and take that step. Congratulations to you. But we now quickly move away onto mathematics.
Why don't you take a step?
All right, moving on to mathematics now. Golden anchor. Pick a number. How do you play?
Question 4.
Question 4. A dash is a circle divided into sectors whose angles represent the items in the data. A, bar chart. B, pie chart. C, histogram.
B, pie chart.
Pie chart is the answer. Put your hands together for him. You may take a step. Congratulations to you. Your question now.
Question 2.
Question 2. Convert 354 to base 6. Options are A, 1350 base 6. B, 3546 base 6. And C, 1333 base 6. Your time is up. The answer is A, 1350 base 6. Your question now, golden anchor.
Question 5.
Question 5. A regular polygon has 9 sides. What is the size of one of its exterior angles? A, 20 degrees. B, 40 degrees. C, 90 degrees.
$40 degrees.
40 degrees, right answer. Go ahead, take the step.
Question 1.
Question 1. The basic facts in geometry are called A, properties. B, theorems. C, figures.
Theorems.
Theorems, right answer. Put your hands together for her. Congratulations, you may take a step. All right. Now we'll move away from mathematics. We now move on to biology.
Why don't you take a step?
Going on to biology, golden anchor. Pick a number.
Question 2.
Question 2. The following organisms are producers except A, hibiscus. B, mushroom. C, cactus.
Mushroom.
Mushroom, right answer. Put your hands together. Go ahead, take the step. Your question?
Question 1.
Question 1. Which of the following methods does not make water fit for drinking? A, boiling. B, distillation. C, adding of alum.
B.
B, distillation. Wrong answer. The right answer is C, adding of alum. Your question now.
Number 4.
Number 4. Which of the following structures is not involved in respiration? Is it A, mouth, B, trachea, C, stomach?
C, stomach.
Stomach, right answer. Take the step. Congratulations to you.
Thanks.
Your question now.
Question 5.
Question 5, and here it comes. Inhaled air is made warm and moist in the A, epiglottis, B, nasal cavity, C, mouth.
C, mouth.
Final answer?
A, epiglottis.
Final answer? Epiglottis was your final answer, but that was the wrong answer. The right answer is the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity. And you don't breathe in from your mouth. All right, so we move away from biology now. We now go on to economics.
Why don't you take a step?
How do you play? Pick a number for me.
I pick number 3.
Number 3. Faring very well so far. The process of negotiating over pay and working conditions between trade unions and employers is known as what? A, collective bargaining. B, argument. C, machinery.
A, collective bargaining.
Collective bargaining is the right answer. Go ahead. Take the step. Congratulations to you. Your question now.
Question 2.
To start a business, an entrepreneur needs A, land, B, capital, C, labor.
B, capital.
Capital, right answer. Put your hands together for me. Go ahead, take the step. Congratulations to you. Your next question.
Question 5.
Question 5. The Nigerian economy can best be described as A, capitalist economy, A, B, mixed economy, and C, domestic economy.
B, mixed economy.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You're very sure.
Yes.
You both agree? You agree with him?
Yes.
Mixed economy, final answer, and that is the right answer. Put your hands together for him. Go ahead, take the steps. Congratulations to you. Your question, Timmy Comprehensive.
Question 1.
Question 1. What is the effect of a price ceiling in the long run? What is the effect of a price ceiling in the long run? A, inflation. B, deflation. C, shortages.
A, inflation.
Wrong answer. The right answer is C, shortages. We now move away from economics. We go on to vocation.
Why don't you take a step?
And on vocation today, we're looking at lumbering. You're nodding. You know what that is, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So pick a number.
Number 2.
Number 2. Where are logs sewn into planks? Where are logs sawn into planks? A, coronary. B, flour mill. C, sawmill.
Sawmill. C, sawmill.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sawmill, right answer. Put your hands together for them. Go ahead, take that step. Your question?
Question 4.
Question 4. What is the major tool in this vocation? A, electric motor. C, axe. B, axe, C, chainsaw.
C, chainsaw.
Chainsaw, right answer. Put your hands together for that. Go ahead, take the step. Congratulations to you. Now your next question.
Question 3.
Question 3. One of these is not a commercial tree. A, acacia. B, mahogany. C, iroko.
Acacia.
Final answer?
Yes.
Acacia. Okay. And there goes the bell. Right answer, put your hands together for him. Go ahead and take the step. You basically answered all the questions today. Let's see how you fare when we step into profession. Your question, Timmy, comprehensive.
Question 1.
Question 1. Which of the following is a byproduct of timber? A, paper. B, pen. C, glass.
A, paper.
Paper, right answer. Take a step. Congratulations to you. We'll move away from vocation and on to profession.
Why don't you take a step?
Right, and the man who just, keeps throwing his anchor and moving steps higher. Let's see how you fare on profession. We're looking at florist. Pick a number.
Number 2.
Number 2. Live or dashed flowers and plants can be used to create floral pieces. A, burnt. B, squeezed. C, dried.
Live and died.
Pardon?
C, died.
Dried.
Yes, right.
Dried. That's your final answer.
Yes, sir.
Dried is the right answer. Put your hands together for him. Go ahead. Can you lose one at least? Just kidding. Your next question.
Question 4.
Question 4. A professional that designs and creates different types of floral arrangements is called a gardener. A, gardener. B, floral designer. C, cutter.
B, floral designer.
Floral designer. Put your hands together for her. Go ahead and take that step. Congratulations to you. Your final question.
Question 5.
Some of the different types of floral design pieces that can be made include bouquets, corsages, wreath, and A, bundle. B, centerpieces. C, ball. Bundle.
Yes, sir.
Final answer.
Yes, sir.
You both agree. You trust her judgment, right?
Yes.
Was she the one that told you bundle?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know you trust her judgment because, it brought you this far with the both of you working together. But that was the wrong answer. The right answer is centerpieces. But you've done so well again. Congratulations to you anyway. Your final question, Timmy Comprehensive.
Question 3.
Question 3. For live plants to get enough water to stay alive and healthy, floral designers use a substance known as A, floral foam, B, detergent, C, soap.
A, floral foam.
Floral foam. Congratulations to you. Put your hands together for her. And go ahead and take that step. And that is how we come to the end of the show today with the students from Golden Anchor High School, Ladilak, taking more steps. Put your hands together for them. Now let's meet in front.
Why don't you take a step?
All right, welcome back. And it's been an interesting one between the students from Golden Anchor High School and Timi Comprehensive College. And at the end of the day, we've seen the students from Golden Anchor emerging winners today on the show. Please put your hands together for them one more time. All right. Basically, acing all the questions we asked. Well, before you receive your gift items, I'd like for you to shake hands, congratulate one another. So go ahead. Shake hands. Yeah? All right, then. Well, let's come to you. Can see NTA Educational TV. Because we do appreciate the effort that you put in. And this comes to our winners today. Please put your hands together for them one more time. Courtesy NTA Educational TV. Well, that's the show for today, and we have to wrap this up. But hey, you do know that you can be part of this. Your school can be here to take the steps as they answer questions being asked. All you have to do is call the number of the producer scrolling on your screen. My name is Moses Humphrey, the Quizmaster, and I'll leave you with the words of Benjamin Franklin. He says, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Till I come your way again, invest time in knowledge. Bye for now.
Why don't you just take a step? Why don't you just take a step? Why don't you just take a step? Why don't you? Why don't you? Why don't you take a step?
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
I want to reiterate that the House will do all it can to make sure that everybody that suffered from police violence, whether you are from the north, from the east, from the west, because everybody in Nigeria suffered from police violence, not just those of us from the southwest. That will be applicable to all, including policemen that lost their lives in this unfortunate incident.
Let's build and not destroy.
Leather industry in Kano is as old as the beginning of the Hausa civilization. Spanning over 1,000 of years, the industry supplied leather materials to the hinterland and also served as a major trade link between Kano and other parts of the world through trans-Saharan trade. It flourished for many years and served as an essential economic mainstay of the Hausa land. In Kano today, few tanneries struggle to operate at a capacity quite inadequate to feed the local leather industries. And this has no doubt stunted their growth, not only in Kano, but other parts of Nigeria.
This is Majema local leather industry or traditional leather industry in Kofar Wambai area of the city of Kano. This place is believed to have existed for over 90 years. It is indeed a heaven for different categories of people, irrespective of their ages.
To ita asali dai wannan mu sana'a jima mun taso ne mun tare da kakanninmu suna yin wannan harka
We grew up into the business of tanning, which we inherited from our forefathers. I think this place is over 80 years. And for how long have you been into this trade? I've been into this trade for approximately 50 years.
As you can see, all activities to do with leather processing is being carried out here.
I happen to see myself in this trade. My parents and their parents were also in the occupation. At least, I have spent over 15 years working here. I tanned a specific leather called tundra, a skin of python, just like this one. I also operate on skin of crocodile and goats, among many others.
In spite of the serious decline in its operations and profitability across the value chain, some business people in Kano still see prospect in leather business and are determined to stay in it.
So now we increase the capacity instead for 15,000 a day, we make it to as 30,000 pieces. That's our capacity for right now. But we have the plan to increase more, to make it like 50 to 60,000 pieces a day.
When we receive the raw skins, we are going to grade the skins by size. After that, we are going to trim. And we want to make the skin to be shaped from the starting stage itself. From there, we will take the skin to the process so that the bacteria will put some chemicals to avoid the bacteria so the skins will not spoil.
One cannot overemphasize the value this industry adds to the economy, and it is worrisome that this once highly prosperous industry will be allowed to decay.
Well, you can see how many people you employ here. Before, some people here is not more than 200 people are working in this place. Now we have more than 500 people, and we want to increase our capacity. We need more people again.
For the leather industry to strive, government must invest substantially in the local content and re-emphasize on policies that encourage all players in the industry.
Is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop.
Plateau State is situated in the tropical zone of north-central Nigeria. The state derived its name from the topographical nature of the Jos Plateau. The Jos Plateau has the highest altitude than all other local government areas in the state, which range between 1,200 meters and 1,829 meters above sea level. The state enjoys one of the best climates in the country. Due to the high topography of Plateau State, many rivers in the state have very slopy gradients. Once in the river areas, one looks up before one sees the sky. This leads to the rivers cutting even rocks that are igneous and intrusive, digging down to find the level of the river. Plateau State is perhaps one of the most blessed states in Nigeria. It parades lots of tourist attractions and sites, traditional architecture, and abundant relaxation centers. Among the many tourist attractions are numerous waterfalls. Asop Falls is the natural waterfalls occurring at the bottom of the famous Hawan Kibo, a rocky uneven hill stretching a long distance below which members of the community live and by which the community is named. The silence before getting to the waterfalls itself is occasioned by various songs of different birds' chirpings while creating rhythmic music to the ear, only to prepare a visitor or tourist for what awaits him. The site of the falls is an area of Guinea savanna on top of mid-altitude ridge of the Jos Plateau. Beside the Jos Kangoro Road, about 64 kilometers from Jos. Asop Falls flowing down the valley with an intensity that will send excitement through one's heart and make one's wonder of the awe that a creation of such beauty only nature can provide. Asop Falls is without the slightest doubt a huge tourist attraction which nature has endowed Nigeria with and located in Plateau State. The falls flows all year round with the volume of water increasing during the rainy season. The beauty displayed by the surrounding hills and the clean rocky terrain is surely inviting and indeed breathtaking. The splashing water is astonishingly beautiful. Asop Falls is an ideal site for picnicking, swimming, bird viewing and sightseeing which may be known to many.
By virtue of the blessings, most of the attractions you see in Plateau is natural, not man-made. And we wouldn't know millions of it have gone. When you see falls like this and other features, as a result of certain earth movement which results to molten magma, whereby after a long time it turns out to be rock areas and other conditions. So you discover these areas are, nobody knows millions of years ago where you come about this, because no, they have visited Asop Falls, you must have visited other, there are other falls actually that have not actually been discovered. We are still in the process of discovering other falls. Most of one of our activities, or rather one of our activities lined up, is that we identify and promote tourism sites. And so, as I now, you discover there are other falls that will come online on stream. Because where that one is falls, because it's very close to the main road, is the gateway to Jos when you pass through from Akwanga, and it's been used for many soap operas. Kokora Down, another area for picnicking, and more especially gives room for geographers. Those study geography and town planning, those go and see the nature of the falls, and so it gives room for other expeditions for other activities.
Verily, waterfalls are numerous in Plateau State. A trip to Jibam village in Pangshin local government area with its hilly and beautiful surrounding characteristics of Plateau State reveals more of the state's natural endowments of site beauty and more waterfalls. Bruketut Waterfalls is one such natural endowment. It is a waterfalls to reckon with, though largely undiscovered. For the natives of Jibam, the waterfalls has been of historical significance. Its significance is embedded in the myth that surrounds the role it has played in the lives of the people.
In fact, that falls that you have seen is a fall that existed a long time ago. In fact, during the time of our parents and grandparents and the rest of them, that we came to live after them. Now, the name of that falls is known as Burkutut. This Burkutut refers to the depth of the volume of the water. It's describing how deep the volume of the water is. And it serves as a rescue area for people who are taken away by flood in the river. And in fact, it is believed that spirits they existed in that place. And so when the person was carried away by flood, then the spirits would rescue that person in the depth of the water. No one would see the spirits. And so what happened was that the communities would arrange, because there are some special people who would contact the spirits with a goat. And when a goat was brought, a rope was tied on the neck of the goat and was dropped into the water. And so when that person was living, and that living person must be a clean person during his lifetime. Any person that was not clean would not be rescued by the spirits.
Tourism is one area governments at all levels in Nigeria can diversify their revenue generation. Bruketut Waterfalls with its surrounding scenic beauty is begging to be tapped. This beautiful waterfalls has its source in the river Matez in Jibam. The river is truly historic in its own right. Apart from housing waterfalls, one of which is Bruketut Waterfalls, the second tallest bridge in West Africa crosses over it. Jibam Bridge is only second to Gadan Saliu, which is on the way to Mambila Plateau. Just a short distance up along River Matez, not far away from Bruketut Waterfalls, is another tourist attraction also yet to be tapped. Guy Spring water has been existing for hundreds of years. The inhabitants of Jibam use the spring as a major source of drinking water, especially during dry season. This is owing to the fact that Guy Spring water does not change its whitish color and it never dries year in, year out.
When it is said that Plateau State is the home of peace and tourism, it is definitely not far away from the truth, because there are many tourist attractions and sites that abound in the state. A lot of them are surely undiscovered. Right now, I am standing at Jibam at one of the springs, which they call Grey Spring, here in Jibam under Pangshin local government. I must tell you that tourists have a lot of things to benefit and see as the contribution of nature to the beauty and the name of Plateau State.
The sandy as well as rocky surrounding has its own unique beauty, ideal for picnicking. River Mat adds its undoubtedly rich in tourism potentials. A few meters away from Guy Spring is yet another waterfalls which needs to be harnessed. Arad Waterfalls is also situated down the mountainous region of Jibam, Plateau State. The waterfalls, gorging downwards, is a great sight to behold. It also has a myth explaining the significance it has in the existence of Jibam village and how it benefited the people in ancient times.
Story has it that during the time that wars were on, so our people went down to Meriang, that is in Kwanpan, for a war with the Meriang people. So our other enemies from Mupunland, the nearest village here, came to fight our people. And so when they discovered that they were away, then they carried their drum to their place. When our people came back, the Jibam people came back and discovered that their drum was away, and they investigated and knew that the drum was there with our enemies. So the drum stayed with them for some time. And so when the people were away on farming work, then the drum, according to the story, swallowed most of their children that were around. So when they came back and discovered that their children were away, and they knew that something went wrong, and they knew that the drum might have done something, because it was a real belief that it was magical. So they started burning the drum. And so when that happened, the drum rolled away from the village and rolled down into the river, and so flooded down into this Arat. Now, the name has been derived from our language, which is called Arlat, which means they consume all. And so from that time, they continue to call this place Arat up to today.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Live more.
The entire surrounding of Arad Waterfalls is certainly eye-catching, and visitors to this part of the world are assured of quality time. What is remaining is the development of such waterfalls and others to world-class standards, and Nigeria will be the better for it. This gushing water is powerful. The force with which the waterfalls results is indeed massive. It is the Kura Falls, some 77 kilometers southeast of Jos, the Plateau State capital. This area of magnificent scenery, beautiful rock hills and lakes is ideal for boating, camping and rock climbing. The waterfalls, which resulted from the activities of tin mining in the area, has an estimated terrain elevation of about 1,057 meters above sea level. The rolling and splashing waters from the falls, the rocks and mountains surrounding, which gives the falls an extremely beautiful outlook, leaves a visitor with no option than to yearn for continuous visits. Kura Falls remains one of the waterfalls that have been utilized for power generation. Its further development for tourism purposes would boost income generation for the government. The one-time bubbling international tourist center at Kura, if revived, will come in handy. For bird watchers, Kura village offers the opportunity to watch birds living undisturbed. Interestingly, flocks of cattle egrets inhabit the place you may call birds' forest during rainy seasons, only to give way to bats to reside there at dry season. It is well known that Plateau State has numerous captivating rocks naturally fixed to add to the beauty of the state. The Sherry Hills are noted for diverse rock formations which can serve the purpose of filmmakers from within Nigeria and abroad. We have the Unity Rock situated within the Rayfield area as well as other beautiful rock formations across the state. Worthy of extensive exploration as part of this episode is the Kerang volcanoes. The plains stretch as far as the eyes could see. The sleepy horizon is obscured by massive cones of varying colors, some lush green and others earthly brown, jutting out into the skies and standing imposingly like enormous yam heaps. These are the Kerang volcanoes. As first visitors to that part of Nigeria, our minds were filled with wonders that there existed such great geological landmarks within the landmass of Plateau State, north central Nigeria. With a road trip from Jos through the Mohavol area of Kombon, Kogul, Kerang, Wampe and Ampang West to the site of Spring Waters of Nigeria factory, you will experience the imposing posture of Kerang volcanoes. The beauty of the volcanoes is enormous and captivating. Also, the Ampidong Crater Lake is historic and the surrounding is also a beautiful sight always. The name Ampidong, though the popular name for the crater lake is an abridged version of the original native name, Ambidong, which means clean water. For the natives, the lake is significantly historic, hence the myth surrounding its existence.
We were told that when the Europeans used to go to that place, when they fetch the water, for them to pour the water, it doesn't come down. So they must have to bring it back and then pour it to the lake. Then sometimes when you want to, there was a tree there, olive tree. When you climb that tree, because the tree is by the side of the lake, and that when you climb that tree and you remove the seedlings, or what do we call it, then you must throw into the lake 7 of them. If you fail to do that, then the tree will take you to the middle of the lake, and then you will sing there, and then it will take you to Sugar, which is in Bonpe village there. Even though we were told that this thing resulted as a volcanic eruption which leads to that crater lake.
The Ampidong Crater Lake is of geographic importance.
Where we are standing, And then far away, those two hills, as you are watching them now, they are debris that was forced out of this particular place by the pressure of the magma underneath the ground. So these are what we call conduit pipes of this ash. So that is how crater lakes are formed. Geography has it that in all the West African sub-region, that's about 16 countries, during the Quaternary period of the active volcanoes, all the volcanoes that erupted during that time, within this sub-region, only this one still has water today. All others have dried up. That explains that this was the deepest in those days, and it remains the deepest since it still has water. So all others have dried up because they were not as deep as this one.
Despite being a destination for students of geography from across many institutions in Nigeria and across the West African sub-region, farmers seems to take advantage of the fertility of the close quarters of the crater lake. Even goats and sheep have a feel of the nature's gifts. Developing this only existing crater lake in West Africa to a highly standardized tourist attraction, in addition to its contribution to the study of geography, would be fruitful. Tourism policies have been in Nigeria for a long while and have come to stay.
Because we rely more on the national policy that has been done the last administration, which was conducted, or rather under the leadership of President Obasanjo. And so once it's done at the national level, we're supposed to domesticate it down to the states. So I'm aware that the states are trying to come up with a policy. Ours is just to implement. We're an implementation agency, while the state has no policy yet.
One of the most attractive volcanoes in the area is the Jimlik volcanoes, located near Ambodis, along Kerang-Shendam Road. Its large slopes pull a world of beauty and constituting an irresistible bait for passers-by. The Kerang volcanoes are widely significant to the study of geography in some aspects of practicals aside its natural beauty. Climbing the Kerang volcanoes is extremely daunting and elevating, but richly rewarding, as breathtaking vistas of the entire landscape hold the adventurer spellbound on reaching the zenith of the volcanoes, or at least halfway. Tapping the tourism potentials of Plateau State in terms of the numerous waterfalls, beautiful terrains, rocks and the beautiful volcanoes will hugely contribute to the economic diversification drive of today's government and a better tomorrow for Plateau State and Nigeria at large.
The people of Igbaroke were filled with joy, love, and happiness, and they came in their multitude with lots of excitement to show solidarity and cheer the Olowa of Igbaroke Kingdom when he returned with bountiful harvests of new yam from Igbo Idashu.
we have stepped up the form of celebration. Jesu Festival has been one of those things that I feel we should thank God for bringing it into our life, because it's just like putting a little bite of yam inside the soil, and it brings you a big tuber of yam. So it's something we need to celebrate. It's something we need to thank God for it. Ijeshu has been the main festival that has been celebrated in ages, in those days by our forefathers.
The way our Kabiesi package it and give it more glamour and showcase certain cultural activities that we have to the world, you understand, has made many home and abroad to really participate in this Yam Festival.
The uniqueness of the New Yam Festival in Igbaroke is the royal procession led by His Royal Majesty Oba Dr. Francis Adefarakanmi Agbede Ogidi III, from the farm through Iloro to Oja Obada, then Ayetoro to the palace of Olowa of Igbaroke Kingdom.
You need to let the people know that as a leader, you have to show a good example that I appreciate God for what God has done. Then the people will follow. They will not just think that it's just something I can send people to go to the farm and bring and start eating. We should appreciate God by doing it, because by going to the farm, doing that myself, it shows that, well, telling God that, well, I appreciate you, so that He can give my people, myself and my people, more bountiful harvest every year.
During the time of New Yam Festival, the Oshoma of Igbaroke will have to send a message, a mystery to the Olowa of Igbaroke to let him know that it's time for the New Yam Festival.
The new yam is cooked, roasted, and pounded in the